Hello, and welcome to the Once Again podcast. We are your hosts, Ashley and Jason. In this episode, we will be looking at the 2001 Disney Channel original movie, Halloweentown 2, Kalabar's Revenge. This episode is in celebration of the spooky season. So sort your mismatched socks, break centuries-long magical rules because they are inconvenient, and enjoy this episode.
Accurate.
Halloweentown 2, Kalabar's Revenge premiered on October 12th, 2001 on Disney Channel.
Directed by Mary Lambert, written by John Cooksey and Allie Matheson, based on the characters created by Cooksey, Matheson, and Paul Birnbaum. Produced by Peter Lotka, edited by Sharon L. Ross, music by Mark Motherbaugh, production company Just Singer Entertainment, distributed by the Disney Channel with a runtime of 80 minutes. Starring Debbie Reynolds as Agatha Aggie Cromwell, Kimberly J. Brown as Marnie Piper, Judith Hogg as Gwen Piper, Joey Zimmerman as Dylan Piper, Emily Rosk as Sophie Piper, Daniel Kountz as Cal, and Philip Van Dyke as Luke.
Very nicely done. Alright, so it's Halloween night. 2 years later, following the events of the previous Halloweentown movie. For the 2 years, Aggie has lived with the rest of the Piper.
And has not gone back to Halloweentown, which is probably the craziest thing.
No, yeah, and they're throwing a party, showing the difference between, the last movie and this film. Now, Gwen celebrates Halloween like the rest of the family. Although I will say, I do like that Gwen and Aggie still fight with each other. It's like...
Still fight on how to celebrate Halloween. Yeah. Aggie's doing magic and Gwen's like...
Stop it.
Stop it.
Yeah.
We're humans.
Yeah.
And Aggie's almost like, everybody knows we're magic. Shut up.
Yeah. But I do like, it's not like, oh, everything was magically fixed at the end of last movie and now everything's going to be... No, they still argue with each other. They're a mother and daughter still. They still, see things differently. And at this party, Marnie's hanging out there, and all of a sudden this cute boy Cal shows up, and he's like, hey, Marnie, you want to go... And she's like, yeah, but only in my grandmother's bedroom.
Pretty much. You're so right.
That's exactly what happens.
Yo, you want to get down?
Yeah.
Yeah, my grandma's room, because her room's cool.
Yeah, her bed's bigger than mine.
My room's not cool.
Yeah. But,
my room's got no personality. My grandmother's got personality for days.
But while Cal and Marnie are off doing what they're doing in the grandmother's bedroom, secret hidden door bedroom, and definitely not a sex chamber. And while they're doing that, Cal's quote-unquote father is flirting with Gwen. And he's like, oh, I love green, and your eyes are so green. It's my favorite color.
It's the worst flirting ever. And the mom's like, oh, this is great. And
but she's going. No, she's going for it.
She's going for it. It's like, Gwen,
it's working.
Honey, you're desperate. We get it.
Again, we have a single mother of 3 children who, this guy comes around, and she's like, all right.
All I've learned watching this movie is it's like, if you're a real vampire out there, just go for the single mother of 3 children, because apparently they are easy to catch it.
Yeah. And while that's happening, Aggie and Sophie are doing a little bit of magic for the neighborhood children.
Mm-hmm.
Aggie keeps using her Mary Poppins bag to pull out tricks and stuff to give to the kids.
Which we have to go back to Cal, and then Cal steals Aggie's spellbook.
Yes. They're he's like, oh, look at how cool. At this point, we don't know who exactly Cal is or what his deal is, but he's like, oh, look at this cool spell book that your grandmother has. And Marnie's like, oh, no, don't, that's not real, that's a prop, but it's very expensive. And he's like, oh, okay, well, let's leave. He shrinks the book down so we know that he's magical, and then he puts it in his pocket and takes it with him. They go back down. Cal's like, hey, Marnie, I'm not a student at your high school yet, but do you think if I wear a cool enough costume, they'll let me come to the Halloween party that they're throwing there?
And she's like, oh, you can go as my date, and then they'll definitely let you in.
Yep.
And it's like, you met this kid 2 minutes ago, and you guys are ready to bang.
Yeah. Well, oddly enough, a little trivia fact: the actor that plays Cal and the actress that plays Marnie, they're engaged in real life.
Oh.
Yeah, now, in 2022, they got engaged. So there must have been some fireworks between them during the takes and everything like this. But yeah, they're a real life couple.
Slay. I love that.
They're the charming and Snow of the Halloweentown universe. But
love that.
Yeah. So Aggie realizes something's wrong because her Mary Poppins bag stops working. And she's like, oh, it's connected to, my home back in Halloweentown, so we're gonna have to go check that out. Cal and his father leave, but they're gonna meet with Gwen and Marnie at the high school dance later, because the father's like, oh, well, we should chaperone the dance, and she's like, oh, okay, sounds good, Mr. Charming.
Pretty much.
Yeah, and as he's leaving, he turns to Dylan and ribbits at him, and then Dylan finds a frog on the ground.
And Dylan's like, that's weird. Yeah, I'm not gonna think about it.
No, yeah. Which, I guess at this point, too, Dylan's also had to have had some magical training, because he would be either the same age or older than Marnie was. Like, it was like, what, when she turned 13?
My takeaway is that he just wasn't interested in the magical training, but, like, that he, like, can do it. Just not as interested.
Listen, again, like, if you have the option, like, they're in this universe, witches are immortal as well, pretty much. Like, yes, they age and stuff, but very slowly. No, you take that, like, you don't choose to be a human. You take that opportunity and you become a witch. Or a warlock or wizard or whatever the male version is in this universe. But so, Aggie's like, Marnie, you and I are going to go back to Halloweentown and see, like, what's going on, like, why my magical bag stopped working. And they go to catch the bus, and the bus doesn't show up.
So then they make a portal.
They make a magical portal that they can go through, kind of solving one of the problems of the last movie. Like, if you can just create a portal to go through it.
But you can only create a portal on Halloween still.
Like, yeah, right.
Which, you know, by the end of the movie, we have broken that rule as well, so...
Continuity error that I saw, they say, as they're about to, oh, we only have 4 hours until midnight, and then as they walk through, it shows a 6 above them. Like, so they must have, at some point, like, we're going to have it be 6 hours instead of 4 hours, and then just never digitally altered. Like,
because it says 4 at first, definitely.
Yeah, when it shows the shot of it, it does say 4, but as they're walking through the portal, it has a 6 instead of a 4 there. So I don't know why the change happened or whatever, but it's just a small continuity error. So they arrive in Halloweentown and everything is gray. Like, it's colorless.
It's not happy. Yeah. Everybody looks human.
It's Kansas and the Wizard of Oz.
Everybody looks human. Like, nobody's looking monstrous.
Yeah, Luke is not a, what is he, a troll or a gremlin? I can't,
Troll.
But he's back to looking human now. And they're like, what is going on here? They go to Aggie's house, and that's also, like, clean and gray and everything like that. And they're looking for her spell book. They can't find it. And Aggie realizes that it must have gone to Groot or Grot. Grot was his name, I think.
Yeah, something like that.
He's like another troll. Gort. Yes, Gort. He's like another troll that, you know, lost things goes
junk
to.
in all the universe goes to him.
Yeah, because she had 2 copies of the spell book. The one that Cal stole, which they realized that it was Cal that stole it at this point. And
he basically admits that he stole it and that he's Kalabar's son.
Yeah, he's the son.
Which is why it's Kalabar's revenge, even though that's...
Kalabar's not in it.
Kalabar's not in it, so I don't know why this isn't like...
He's Kalabar Jr.
Halloweentown 2, like... Halloweentown...
The son of Kalabar.
Yeah, son of Kalabar.
Yeah.
Like, it's not even like... it's not like we get this revelation, like, late in the film. Like, we get it so early that, like...
And he's way more powerful than Kalabar ever showed off being, especially for being a teenager and everything like that. But he, at the same time, even though he reveals he's Kalabar's son, he also has the line where he says, I guess I also inherited his attraction to Cromwell women. Like, Marnie,
he's pretty much
up?
like, yo, Marnie, be my girl.
Yeah.
Like, your family will be okay. Still gonna take over the world.
Oh, and I forgot, before he left their house, he gave her a single rose, like how Kalabar gave Gwen a rose and everything like that.
Yeah.
And when he reveals that he's Kalabar's son, they show a quick shot of Kalabar doing that.
But again, just definitely a weird name for Kalabar's revenge. Like, you could have been like Halloweentown 2, Halloweentown in trouble, or like
Return to Halloweentown.
Return to Halloween. Well, there is a Return to Halloweentown. That's a separate movie.
Oh, well, but this would have come before that one though. So, but anyway, they go to Gort's. Gort. What was his name? Yeah, Gort. They go to Gort's house to find the lost version of the spell book. And he's been affected by the gray spell, so everything is organized, and... He's
gotten rid of everything, pretty much.
He's sorting the mismatched socks, because when you lose a sock in the dryer, it ends up at Gort's. And the gray spell starts to affect Aggie, and she starts, But at the same time, as that's happening, it goes away from Luke. Luke turns back.
Yeah, something happens.
Yeah, and...
Which we later learn is Marnie, saying a spell backwards, basically.
Yeah. And right before Aggie's fully affected by the gray spell, she writes down a time travel spell for Marnie to use, which it's in Welsh, so Marnie doesn't really know how to say it. So she because Cal Jr. locks them in Gort's house. They can't leave. But Marnie realizes she uses terrible 2000s computer language to talk about how it's like a computer virus and you can hack the back door.
Yeah, she's gonna hack it and like, so she like does the time travel spell to go back to like when Gort was messy and stuff.
Yes.
Which I always think about this. They go back in time. Aggie is clearly present in this timeline.
Yeah.
Why not just go to Aggie's house? Like, why not go see what Aggie's up to right now and be like,
give
Grandma,
her a warning
what's the answer?
or something?
Grandma, what's the answer?
Yeah. But so anyway, eventually, like, they figure out, like, because even going back in time doesn't really solve the problem. Like, she figures out how to, like, you say the word backwards eventually. Like, Luke is like, oh, it's something that you said backwards, and I think it's apart and
so it's Trappa.
Trappa, yeah. And that works to turn Gort back to normal and everything. And then she uses the time travel thing to go back to the mortal world, like back to our world. Like they do an offshoot of it. She says something about how it's like a Stephen Hawking's black hole, whatever thing. Yeah,
weird.
Yeah, and because the portal to the mortal world has closed, like it's after midnight now. Meanwhile, Cal, back in the real world, is going to turn everyone that's wearing a Halloween costume into whatever they're wearing. And he does that at the high school dance. Most it affects several characters, but most prominently Gwen. He turns her into, I guess, a witch.
Yes, like an actual witch.
Yeah, like a scary kind of witch. Which, one of the trivia things is that was actually the actress from Gwen in the makeup, like playing that part. It wasn't a separate act. Yeah. So Marnie manages to show up.
Oh, because she does go back to Halloweentown in the proper time and manages to save Aggie from being gray. But then they just miss getting through the portal. And basically all of the Cromwells together are like, no, we're going to break the rules.
That's it. Yes,
and basically they're just like, they make a spell to be able to have a portal anytime they want.
Right, yeah. And Aggie has the line of saying, like, it's been this way since, like, Merlin's time or something. Like, Merlin's
like, it's a Merlin rule.
Yeah, and
like, they even say, like, even Cal's like, what the hell? You can't do that. Yeah. And they manage to do it, and he's, like, flabbergasted by it.
Yeah,
like,
and then he kind of just explodes. And they say, like,
well, he basically is like, take the books, Marnie, you can do this, and basically good wins against evil, and like, she proves she's the stronger witch.
Yeah.
Because Cromwell magic is stronger.
And then he explodes, kind of, and they're like, oh, he'll be back at some point, like...
It's just kind of left out, and you're like, okay, bye, Cal.
Yeah, and then, like, they reverse his spell, everyone goes back to being normal. Which I guess now the mortal world, or at least this town, is exposed to magic. Like, they know magic's real and everything like that. But, yeah.
But, it also solves the problem from the beginning of the movie where, like, they were like, Marnie will have to go and live in Halloweentown for a year to train after she leaves high school. Because she won't be able to come back, and, like, saves the problem because now they can come back and forth.
Right.
Which they were never able to do before.
That's true. But so, yeah, that's the end of that. We also get a brief moment when Halloweentown's gray. We see Benny as a human. He's funny though because he keeps giving everyone receipts.
It's so good.
Like he drives slowly and cautiously.
Also, they all go back, and Sophie in particular is very helpful in like fixing the problems.
Yeah.
Like
it's kind of the ending to the same from the first movie. Like it's like, oh, the Cromwell love and magic and everything solves the problem. Blah, blah, blah. They turn Halloweentown back to the spooky town that it's supposed to be and everything. But that's all I have for the recap. I guess we could talk about the trivia that I have here. It was known by two other names during production, Halloweentown 2 and Return to Halloweentown. The latter was used for the fourth in the series. There you go. You mentioned that. See, I've never seen any of the Halloweentown movies. So.
I think I've seen Halloweentown High, so I've seen the third. I've never seen the fourth. I was unaware there was a fourth one, so...
Okay.
We'll get there!
And then this next trivia note is about how Kalabar is spelled with a K in the title of this, even though it's spelled with a C in the closed captioning. Same thing with Cal, like his son, it's C-A-L in the closed captioning.
And spelled that Kalabar with a C in the first movie, too.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. Just before the creature spell is undone, there is a human dressed as a chicken. Okay. Because not everyone... I think it was only the people that were wearing masks turned into...
Yes,
because, like,
specifically.
especially Dylan would have been very problematic if he had turned into what he was dressed as. There's also a subplot...
Specifically masks.
Yeah. There's a subplot with Dylan where he's interested in girls now and trying to ask them out, and they're all rejecting him. They didn't show... I would have thought, unless I'm just not remembering it, the girl at the end, like, that turned into the vampire that was trying to drink his blood, you'd think she would be his girlfriend now at the end of the movie or something, but... They didn't show it if that did happen. But when Marnie opens the portal to see her brother and sister, they are not looking at the portal. In the next scene, they look directly at the portal when Marnie and Aggie come out. Time seems to continue while Marnie is in the timeline. Okay? The movie takes place 2 years after the original Halloweentown, yet it was released 3 years after said movie.
Interesting.
The film is much darker and more serious in tone than its predecessor and its following sequels. Despite the film's success, its sequels have been more comedy-driven. Okay. I don't think this was, like, dark. Like, whatever. The film references academic thought such as Arthurian legend and even advanced physics of Stephen Hawking's. And we mentioned that, too.
Yes, they do.
The Sanderson sisters' costumes from Hocus Pocus were recycled in this film and can be seen on...
I did see that.
3 new actresses at the end of the film when the gray spell is broken. I noticed Sarah Sanderson. I didn't notice the other ones, though.
I noticed Sarah. I didn't notice the other ones.
When Gwen turns into a monster, it was actually Judith Hogag herself in the makeup playing it, not a stunt person or stand-in, and I mentioned that as well. In June of 2022, Kimberly J. Brown and Daniel Kountz got engaged, so I mentioned that as well. All right, well, let's dive into our overall scores then.
I'll go first this time.
Okay.
I really like this movie, and as I was saying earlier, I think this movie is what I think about when I think Halloweentown. Like, I'm never thinking of the first film. I'm thinking of this film. And I'm thinking of, like, the monster scene, and I'm thinking of Cal. Like, I'm thinking this. And maybe I do think about it because it's a bit darker in tone than the first one. But this is definitely, like, a film I think of when I'm thinking, like, Halloween movies. It's Halloweentown, but specifically Halloweentown 2. I love this movie. I think it's pretty good. I do think it has its, like, you know, again, it's a decom. So it's never going to be great necessarily. But I gave it an 8 out of 10.
Okay. And I wrote down, it's a fun return to this world and a decent sequel. It had a lot of rehashing from the first movie, but also offered plenty of new material to build upon in the later films. And I'll be interested to see where the series goes. So I give it a 6.5 out of 10.
Let me ask something. Would you like this more if this had been the first movie? If like, this was not a sequel, if this had been the first movie in the series versus a sequel?
Yeah, because I remember my criticism of the first one was that Marnie was like how Max is in Hocus Pocus. Like, she's that awful 90s character that, because they're the protagonists, they're right in everything they do, even
and they can be snarky as shit. Yeah.
Here she's not like that.
Yeah, we've lost the snark but gained a protagonist we can step behind.
But also, like I was saying, with it being I liked that it showed Aggie and Gwen still arguing with each other. Like, not like they're still a family. Like, they still have problems and stuff. It's not perfect magic world. Like, I like Dylan's growth. I thought, like, I liked him as the nerdy brother and everything in the first one. I like that he's, like, kind of girl crazy now in this. Cause
still nerdy, but girl crazy.
And there's the scene with him and Gwen where she's like, oh, did you ask that girl out? And he's like, yeah, I asked out Cindy. What'd she say? No. Well, what about Sarah? No. Ashley? No.
She laughed.
Yes. I think one of them threw up, too, or something like that. Like, it builds upon what the first movie had. And you know what? It's kind of like a very it's a decom version of Star Wars. The first one's good. I mean, A New Hope when I say the first one.
Yes.
But then I like the second one better. Like, it builds upon that. It could stand alone as its own movie. You don't need the first one. You're going to get more if you've seen the first one. Or Pirates of the Caribbean. I think that the second one's also a great sequel that you don't necessarily need the first one for, but it builds upon what the first one had, and you get more from it. So yeah, even though I gave it a 6.5 out of 10, I still think it's good, and you should check it out. That's not a bad score. That's, I'm going to watch it again. I'll have it as, if I ever have kids, I'll watch it with them and stuff. So, but yeah, anything else you'd like to discuss about it?
I think we're good.
All right. What do you think? Do you think it, what you asked me, like, if this had been the first one, do you think it would be better? Or?
I don't know, because I think you're right. You lose a little bit of the, like, family dynamic, but I feel like the family growth. But I feel like that's also fine, too. Like, I think you don't necessarily need to see that growth to be like, oh, I understand this family. Like, I don't know. I think it would need to be changed a little and tweaked, but I think it almost works perfectly as its own movie. Oh,
and we forgot to mention that Alan, I think his name is, Cal's father in this. He's a bunch of frogs.
Yeah, he's a golem.
Yeah.
Just a bunch of froggies.
Yeah.
Ribbit.
Yeah, and he turns back into the frogs at the end, I believe.
Yes.
Which, why not have a little thing where Gwen kisses him and he turns into the real Alan, like he's a prince now or something, you know what I mean? Like, whatever. But this has been the Once Again Podcast. Any questions, comments, or critiques can be addressed to our email at onceagainpod@gmail.com. Follow us on our social media accounts, all one word, on X, we'll see for how long, and Instagram. If you'd like to contribute to the podcast, we have several tiers available on patreon.com/onceagainpod. As always, a like, follow, or share would be greatly appreciated. Thank you and have a wonderful day. And remember, we will entertain you. We will always entertain you.
Ribbit.